17 years ago, I organized my very first trip to Iceland with my parents, brother and sister. Today, a full generation later, I'm back behind the wheel. Only this time, I'm bringing my two daughters with me. Equipped with a tiny motorhome, zero darkness, and a loose plan to circle the island counterclockwise, we set out on an epic 8-day road trip. From hiking up boiling thermal rivers and dodging crowds at hidden waterfalls, to dead batteries, 20-euro sandwiches, hurricane-force crater winds, and a shortcut through the central highlands that nearly shook our home on wheels to pieces. This was 8 days of pure Icelandic wildness, completely on schedule and totally unforgettable. Here is our trip around Iceland. This time, for several reasons, we fly from the airport of Venice, where there are, I think, 35 degrees. And here we got to the airport of Reykjavik. Here we are at Glacier motorhome, where we rent ours. Last year in Scotland we took one like this, but this year we want to take a smaller one like this, a bit more practical. Went to the grocery store and we got everything that we need, I think, for several days. Now we drive a little bit along the southern coast. It's still light, there should not be any complete darkness while we're here. Here's the first camping spot for the trip. The motorhome that we have is this one here. I think it is free, if I understood correctly, and you can decide how much you give. It is now 11:30 in the evening and it is still light. Best night of sleep in a long time, also for the girls. First stop of the whole trip, Reykjadalur hot spring area. We probably see thousands of these, but the first timber with the fumes is always a lot of fun. And this is the first one of the gazillion waterfalls that we see. I think this is called Gljúfrafoss. We get to the part of the river where it's possible to go swimming or bathing, let's say. There's a huge amount of mosquitoes. This is why I look like a nun. And now you see me enjoying the thermal waters. There is about maybe 100 meters where you can go inside the water, and the higher up the warmer. Leaving now this really cool area, we try to go down as quick as possible because it's full of mosquitoes, exactly like in Scotland last year. For lunch we are in Seljalandsfoss, the legendary place of residence for Bobby Fischer, and we are going to have a pasta. And I even found sauce of mutti and the rummo pasta. So here's the pretty center of Seljalandsfoss with its colorful houses, and they are giving some Pippi Langström cartoons here in the center, and my daughters of course prefer to watch that rather than coming to look at the village. I just read that all these colorful buildings are part of a project that started in 2021 to rebuild the center of Seljalandsfoss, one of the biggest projects here in southern Iceland. And all these buildings are taken from somewhere in Iceland. They were damaged and they transported here, renovated them. The waterfall down there is the Seljalandsfoss, and here there is a huge amount of people. Let's see how wet we get. There's a string of other waterfalls here in this region, and this is the coolest one because there is a kind of a small canyon. We are now leaving this area, and the next stop is Skógafoss, which is one of the most famous waterfalls in all of Iceland. It's a bit later, 6, so maybe it's not going to be as crowded as when we got here. Now the road goes along the coast finally, and the landscape it's really cool. There is now steep mountains going all the way down to the water. The one back there is Skógafoss, one of the famous waterfalls here in Iceland. And it's a bit late, so I don't think there are too many people. There are a few scattered people that go up here. There is also a very nice hike all along the river up here, so after this platform come up to the top of the waterfall that we saw before, and now we walk along the river. That's really cool. There is almost nobody that goes beyond that point, and there's a number of waterfalls. I think there are 5 to 10. This walk here is one of the absolute highlights of today. It's a very easy walk along this river, but there are so many waterfalls. I think also it's a good time. It's about 8 p.m. and everybody left by now. Catching a breeze left. Last stretch of the day, we're gonna go to Vik and stay at the camping place there if we find a spot. Got to Vik for the evening. In the camping lot we found some spot, but without electricity. Dinner of the champions. We start day 2 in Vik, again after a fantastic night of sleep. We take a quick walk around town where there is this very photogenic church, and then we head east. We are driving now east of Vik and we go through lava fields, endless flat plains. And here are some awesome lava fields that extend up to the horizon on one side, and on the other there are the mountains and the glaciers. The Hveravellir area is a canyon where you can walk along. The weather is summer today, even my girls are with t-shirt, and there is lots of people. I don't know where I can find a place where it is a bit quieter. It seems that everybody is stopping exactly the same place around the Route 1, but it's beautiful, so let's go. I guess on that I get free food because there's a very high concentration of people. At the end of this very short walk, very nice, but nothing spectacular. And all the paths that I've seen so far, they are very well prepared, quite broad like this for everybody. I did not remember them like this. We are now crossing a pretty long stretch without major highlights, but there is plenty of waterfalls and rock formations like the one behind. Spending time driving is definitely not something I like to do. And also now I'm really thinking how it would be to go by bicycle on this road, but the views are incredible. There is this road that goes on forever, straight ahead with massive rocks and then the glacier in the background. I ride to the incredibly crowded Skaftafell camping place. It's completely booked, look here. I had to make a couple of people move to make my motorhome fit. From the Skaftafell camping ground, we are taking a hike in the mountains just above the camping ground. Here is the end of a glacier. I think that when we go up we see the last ice part, and here are the icebergs that come off the end of the glacier. The one back there is the Skaftafell Gleciar, the end of it. Here I think the main reason why people come here is to do the hike that I'm doing, where there is a mix of the glacier, some waterfalls, and there is absolutely nobody around. So I'm not sure what the people do. If you look on the map, there is nothing else to do. So if you come to do this hike, there are some organized expedition to the glacier. That's pretty much it. So I guess the people just stay in the camping ground. We got to the point where the end of the glacier is the most visible here, and there are some, of course, pictures where you see how much shorter it got in the decades that passed. We finished the water and we decided to go for this reddish color stream. The water is transparent. We drank it. Let's see if there is going to be any consequences. The girls decided to run for some reason. They don't stop. It's downhill, but they've been running now for a good 15 minutes. This behind is the Svartifoss, another highlight here of the area, and it is really crazy. There is all the basaltic rocks on both sides. Incredibly, today it was like full of people also in the camping, and here nobody. It's only for me, not a single other tourist, not up here, not down there. Absolutely crazy place. So far one of the most incredible I've seen in these few days, and the ones I remember. Walk finished, and here we are back at the camping spot. Here it is. Ours is somewhere here. It is still full sun, but it is already 8 p.m. Wrapping up the second day with a pretty cool backdrop, the mountain back there. This is our motorhome, and I just watched the final of the World Cup with the Spanish neighbors, those guys with this car. They started to finish yesterday here at the camping spot. Today we're gonna see some of the glacier endings. I think we can walk on some, and we can go on boats on some of the lagoons. And then we continue east, and there is a long stretch of road, I think, with not too many things to see on the way. This is the part of Iceland famous for the glacier and the easy access to them. There is a big one behind me, and now we are gonna go to one that is called something like Svínafellsjökull. Behind is the glacier. I don't pronounce the name anymore because I'm gonna miss it for sure. And it's one where you can get quite close to walking. You can see probably people on this small peninsula here. and you can even walk a little bit on part of the ice on your own. And the girls are ready to tackle the glacier. It's possible to walk a little bit. I see people up to about here. Let's see how far we make it. Very cool. So we are right in the middle of the ice. I found on Google this as a highlight in the region, a church with the roof covered with grass. Just had lunch and now we're gonna see another canyon for the afternoon called Mulgaljufur. Absolutely incredible canyon here with this waterfall and a very steep and deep into the mountains. It is one of the most impressive. Unfortunately, right now there is a small cloud in front of the sun and there are several waterfalls. This is the one that I could see before, but there's also one back there. I'm at the highest point of this hike, which is absolutely unbelievable. The cell phone definitely does not have a camera with an angle wide enough to give a sense of the majesty of these mountains all around. And on the way down also the sun came out from behind the cloud and the scenery is even better. And here I'm back at the beginning of the most scenic part, basically from here up to the top, which is about 2 kilometers up here, is absolutely the most stunning part of Iceland I've seen so far. And now leaving the area where we went hiking, and there is the famous lagoon. I think we will try to do that if it is not too late. The lagoon with the glacier where you can go with the boat between the icebergs. I wanted to go through the icebergs with one of these boats, but they said that it is too windy, too wavy, and it's dangerous, so no boats for today. This was the last highlight of the day. Now we go to the Höfn, I think is the name of the next village, where there are some groceries. We arrived in Höfn, we stay for the night. We got a lot of food from the grocery because I don't know when I get the next one. And now we go to the camping site. I hope that I will find a spot. I think I will. Hopefully with electricity. Here I got to the camping in Höfn and I found a spot, no problem, but no electricity. And strange enough, again, my motorhome doesn't charge the motorhome battery without being plugged. And they told me that it's impossible to find electricity because the majority of the people who are here are Icelanders who have a spot for weeks long and they occupy all of the plugs. So I'm without a fridge for probably the whole week. Cooking here in the motorhome. If we continue like this, we're gonna die of cholesterol, I think. It's 11:05 and it is still light. And there's a crazy light. This is one side. This is the side of the sunset. Today, the beginning of day 4, we left early Höfn because we want to do some kilometers today, as there is not much to see and stop to do. There are the East Fjords in front of us, which are beautiful to drive with a beautiful landscape, but there is no real hike that can be done or major city to visit, so we will drive relatively fast. Absolutely unbelievable road, and this time in the morning also there is nobody on the road. Unbelievable stretch of coast. I'm thinking all the time how it would be cycling here. Here is Djúpivogur, the first village since we left the other village this morning. There's an incredible amount of people for the size of the village, probably because there's nothing else and everybody stops here. There is a museum, I think, with all the celebrities of the history of this small village. Weird kind of village museum with all sorts of objects. Here, like a radio transmission system, and there are some sewing machines. I found out why there are so many people, and because there is a cruise ship here in port right now and everybody disembarked to have a look at the village. Here another one of these old bowl museums, very small, a collection of stones. I heard the owner of the place explain that he was a fisherman all his life and he collected the stones as an hobby, and at a certain point he put up this kind of museum, which is really cool actually. And this sculpture here, made up of 34 eggs, was done in 2009. They represented 34 species of birds that are locally present here. Soon we're gonna leave the east fjords of Iceland, and I want to see if I can do a little hike. I saw this waterfall from the road. Here we are, right on the edge of the waterfall. And the bridge back there is the turning point of this small hike. It's just 1.5 kilometers from the parking lot, but it's absolutely awesome because you can go up to the edge of the waterfall, and yeah, it's a bit more wild. Many of the others were a bit too curated for many tourists, but this is a pretty natural one. And the way back is on the other side of the river, so you get the same waterfalls from a different perspective. And from this side, I'm right here. In my face! Now we finished the hike and we are gonna go to a place where there are some thermal baths, and the road is quite long to that place, so we are taking a shortcut on an unpaved road, and I need to go up in first gear now. Something for the kids and also for me. These are the thermal baths of Vök, which are on a natural lake and with warm water. Totally awesome. There is these 3 pools of warm water right on the lake. Here is the edge. There's the fantastic Vök hot springs, and now I pull it to Miftan, which is about 1.5 or 2 hours from here. Moon-like landscape on the way to Miftan. Here behind is the volcano of Hveravellir, close to Mýrdalur, and now we are gonna climb up there. It's possible to walk all around the crater. And here we reach the crater of the volcano, and now we walk around the edge. Incredible wind, and the only one on the hike, of course. My daughters almost fly away. Gonna be the first couple of hours of rain since we are here, so we go to another of these thermal baths, which is called Earth Lagoon. And here we are inside the Earth Lagoon. It looks like the more famous Blue Lagoon close to the airport, but I think that the landscape around it is even better. After a couple of hours here, weathering off the rain, but there's still a little bit of rain. Now we head out to the area with all the geological formations. Out of the hot springs, still pretty miserable weather. It should rain still for a couple of hours. Rain time is Yahtzee time, chips time, pasta time. This is the interior geothermal area with all these the smells beside the colors and the bubbles going up. There's some quite some strong smell. Lots of fun for adults and kids to jump in the middle of the smoke. It stinks like crazy. I'm sure we cannot use these clothes anymore. And now the new pastimes is getting smoked. These are my girls in the middle of the smoke there. Now it's my turn. Another meters of climbing. This behind is the waterfall, the Gods, not far from Akureyri. It's beautiful, powerful, probably the broadest that you've seen so far. Done it, we saw this waterfall from every single perspective. Here we are the small beach that's next to the waterfall. The waterfall of the gods was the last stop of the day. Now we go to Akureyri. We are gonna see if we find a spot to sleep. There is also a few things open still, like the botanical garden. We got to Akureyri around 7:30 in the afternoon, and the botanical garden is open until 10. So we're gonna visit here the botanical garden, and if there is time before the camping, we're gonna go to the city center, maybe have some dinner there. Here we got to Akureyri around 8:30 in the evening. All the shops are closed, but there are maybe some restaurants. This is the main street, and I think the only street with some commercial activity. About midnight, at the end of day 5 in Akureyri camping place. Busy day also today. We saw so many things. We got also the first rain of the whole trip. We left Akureyri and now we're going to do a pretty long cross in the direction of Reykjavik. We're going to go through the island. I hope that the road that Google shows me is a normal road that I can do with this motorhome. I've seen maybe, I would say, 5 to 10 cyclists that were doing the tour of the island. I'm thinking, this one that I just crossed knows that in front of him or her, I didn't see it, there is this kind of landscape and weather. I'm so glad that I'm not doing cycling this time. Quick break along the way. There is this church, I had seen it yesterday. It's a couple of 100 years old. There is a bunch of these that are still standing. We are now crossing the island through this road which is unpaved in most parts, and there is a sign that gives a good perspective for the next kilometers. I was somehow expecting to drive through glaciers and the crazy rock formations and glacial valleys crossing the island, but actually it's a sea of nothingness. The road is getting rougher instead of better. It's been now 100 kilometers of unpaved road. Now it's even a stony unpaved road. Now I can appreciate the sign that said go beyond this point, it's maybe at your own risk. But if anything happens here, there is no signal and there's nothing anywhere. We stopped in Hveravellir, which is basically the only place between 150 kilometers that we did and 100 kilometers to go on an unpaved road in the middle of absolutely of nothing, in the middle of Iceland. There is these geothermal areas. We're gonna have a quick stop here. Pretty tough place to reach, but it's cool on its own with these geothermal effects. And also there is a open air free pool where you can go swimming in warm water. We are inside the pool. Absolutely awesome. And this is definitely one of the coolest places that you see in these holidays. Very isolated for once, not too many tourists. There's this guy here who has been drinking beer and vodka since we came. It's cold because we are in the high plateau of Iceland, so I've seen it was 8-9 degrees plus lots of wind. Absolutely brutal! Oh wow! It's really, the whole road is a whole night after the other. Well, at least I have one more reason to have taken this smaller motorhome. Coming out of these rock deserts, hopefully, this unpaved road continues still forward. Okay. At least there is some green on the horizon. And the road had its consequences. The fridge here got broken. There are some screws laying around. The bed in the back also. Part in the middle fell down. I must take a video of the end of this shitty road. The normal road, I cannot believe it. Over 200 kilometers on an extremely rough, bumpy road. You never really see the next damage. The tank got damaged. And now we don't have any water until we leave. Now we got to Gljúfrafoss, which is one of the most famous falls here in Iceland. It's all built up like this, like several others of these famous waterfalls, which I think takes away 50% of the charm. And stupidly I did not take my raincoat, which I have. And from middle of nowhere Iceland, lost in the stone desert. We are now doing every single hotspot and tourist point. This is Geyser. Wow! We start off the day very late, it's past 11, the girls could not wake up, they slept 12 hours and I had difficulties waking them up. But we started the day with a thermal bath in Hornalong, close to where we spent the night. Should be a nice little thermal bath with not too many people. Here's the Hornalong thermal bath, absolutely incredible place, open air. Almost nobody. There is another small family, but otherwise the place is all for us. And there are 3 pools of different temperature, and this one is not even a pool, actually it's part of the river that comes down on the mountain. And yeah, it's warm also, the water going downstream. This is the best place I've seen so far. This is Foss, another one of the most popular waterfalls, maybe because of the color of the water. And another one where it's a bit overdone with tourism. And here's the best viewing point of this waterfall. Underneath the bridge, we had to wait about 15 minutes to see from here. I was a bit disappointed by all the tourists up there. But yeah, so just a couple of steps farther and this is all for us, nobody else around. The color of the water is the original one, the one that you see below. I don't know how it is possible exactly. And this is the third one of this river, even more impressive than the first one. And this can be seen right in front of the water. This one behind is a house built in a cave that was inhabited until 100 years ago. I found it on Google, it has a good rating. I came here and it was written that there will be a tour at 17:30. There is nobody, so I came up here. Let's see if somebody comes. And now I made it inside this place. There's a French guy that makes tours here. He's giving me a private tour because there's nobody else.
Questo è per la colpa della mia ragazza. Perché mi sono trovato l'unica siciliana che non piace il caldo. Adesso 10 anni che siamo insieme.
Ma dai, 10 anni che siete in Islanda?
No, ho fatto 4 anni in Islanda. 4 anni è un sacco. Ma è una bella vita, è un posto bello per vivere.
We got to Þingvellir National Park. It's about 7 p.m. and the girls don't want to do the walk today, so we stop here at the campsite right at the national park. And we start the final day, day 8 in Þingvellir National Park. It's one of the most famous places here in Iceland, with 2 plates, the European plate and the American plate. And continue walking this national park. The views are beautiful, but they overdone it massively for tourism. There are motorways basically walking along this park. It's difficult to enjoy it beside the people, but also with this kind of infrastructure and natural place does not fit in the front of you. It's pretty much unbearable for me to see platforms and metal bars just to walk around the park and beside the people. Even if I will come off season, still it's way too much built up for the kind of place that it is in my point of view. Now heading to Reykjavik for the last day. We're going to spend the afternoon there and then we head toward the airport. We have a flight tomorrow morning very early. And to finish the trip we spend the last day or afternoon in Reykjavik. We do not have any fixed plan, we just roam around. This is the concert hall in the city port or on the waterfront. Very small center, but a typical northern European city. All clean lines, modern buildings, some are renovated old buildings. Finishing the tour of the city center. Is a very compact city, of course. And there is one museum that we're gonna see, the Punk Museum of Iceland. We avoided the world-class museums, but we came to the Icelandic Punk Museum. We did this volcano experience back there, which is a 3D cinema with some effects of a volcano exploding. 9 minutes for 70 euro for the 3 tickets, and not worth it. The kids liked it, so if they're happy, I'm happy as well. Drop the motorhome here at the airport and now walk into the terminal. All is already over. It was really an absolutely awesome vacation. If I compare it to the one with Scotland last year, it's a bit different, the landscape here. You get all these geothermal effects. In Scotland, I think the advantage was that there was way more possibilities to cycle. I didn't bring the bicycles here because it would have been a bit more difficult, and also to discover some hidden places. Here the main sites are very visited. It was difficult to find some less crowded places. They were always really awesome. Next time that I come, I absolutely want to come by bicycle and do cycling, hiking on the West Fjords area. That must be more remote. And I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.